Hello, and welcome to day two of the Birthing Your Greatness Conference. I am Thea, the COO of the Collaborative U, and we are super excited today to welcome to the stage. Oh my gosh, drum rolls, please. Yes, I am so excited to bring to you today $1 million business builder Ed Hoffman, all the way from the great state of Texas. You see, he has that Texas flag behind him.
You betcha.
Yes, and we are super excited to learn about creating an irresistible business, a brand that you are out here championing. Look, I'm so tongue-tied because I'm just ready. Like, I have my paper, my pen, my notes. Guys, thank you for joining us for the Birthing Your Greatness Summit. If you are not on our Facebook group, join the Facebook group at bit.ly/BYGFB group. Join us. For those of you who want the replay, go ahead and register. I think it's only $10 for you to get all 20 days. It's at bit.ly/BYG Summit. But I am about to get out of the way so that Ed can take the floor. And while you guys get ready. Ed, you ready?
I was born ready, and you're inspiration to me.
Awesome. Well, I'm going to step on out the way and give you the floor, sir.
Well, good morning or afternoon, depending on what city and state you're in. Well, first, I want to give a shout out to the ranch office. They're providing me this office space with this great flag back here. I feel like Joe Rogan. And my name's Ed Hoffman. I'm the president and founder of Innovating Consulting. And what do? I create irresistible companies. What is an irresistible company? It's creating an environment that not just for your customers, but your employees, your suppliers, your CPAs, everybody that's around you, even the people you rent your building from, want to do business with you. And I'll give you a few examples. One would be when I was selling my primary company, I was in Alaska fishing, and my lawyer was on the phone with me on a Sunday night, giving me complete attention, never overcharged me for his time, because we've had a relationship for almost 30 years. So he wanted to be part of my program, and we've always helped each other out. And when it came to people buying my business, now I was purchased by an private acquisitions firm. And these guys, all they do is shop companies. They walk into 100 companies a year. And they walked into mine, and within a half an hour, they go, Ed, let's go to lunch. And I said, sure. They go, we want to buy your business. I go, okay, why? I always like to ask people why they want to do business with me. Even when they're signing a contract, well, what makes you want to sign a contract with me? It also reaffirms the fact why they're doing it. So by them saying it out loud, gives them more reassurance about doing the deal. They go, Ed, we've walked into over 100 companies, and we've never, ever been in a company like yours. I go, what makes mine so special? Because I really didn't know. And they go, when we walked in, everybody was happy. Everybody was very busy. Everybody was very polite. Whenever we walked by someone, they stood up and shook our hand. Yet the minute the phone rang, they go, 1 second, and they climbed over the phone, they reached it, they had high energy for the client that was on the phone. They go, let me write this work order up and I'll be right with you. Would you like some water? They go, we're never in offices like that. Usually everybody's down, there's no enthusiasm, and we want to do business with a guy like you. And they bought me. That is creating an environment that people want to do business with you. Another good example is many years ago, I started a company, a renovation company, and I had a relationship with the man in charge of the contracts. And he had another bidder. And he said, Ed, I really want to do business with you. I do have another bid. I've got to go to the bathroom. The bid's on my computer, but I can't tell you what it is. So of course I went around his desk, looked at it, and they were charging 3 times what I usually charge. I just doubled my price with this guy, and he thought it was the deal of the century. And he got me, my brand, my reputation, my service, my people, my infrastructure for my company. So that is what I call irresistible company. Now I've been told I'm a true rags to riches story. I don't know. I think we all have our rags to riches story. Um, I was living in New York, got in a little trouble there. So I left New York State, hitchhiked cross country, across Canada for a year and a half, wound up in Texas. I had $34 in a backpack. And on the trip, just to tell you how homeless I was, one of the fine places I found to sleep at night was the clothing donation places, where they have these little boxes and people donate the clothes, and they always had really cheap locks on there. So I was able to pick the lock, climb in there, and sleep. And they were very safe. You didn't have to worry about anybody robbing you, the police picking you up, and things like that. So just to tell you how homeless I was that homeless. And from there, I worked and did this, did that, and eventually found a business about doing specialized coatings. I created this concept, this process, and I started in the back of my patio of my apartment in my pickup truck, and built a multi-million-dollar corporation and sold it to the acquisition firm. Now, that is the very short story. I also want to tell you about owning your own business. And if you want to own your own business, first thing, you have to be half crazy, half unemployable, to me, because you're not going to get, and I never got, any sort of acknowledgement from your employees and your customers, maybe your vendors. But you pay all these people, you work your tail off them. That's what they expect. And I was groomed for that because I grew up in an environment I didn't know what approval was. When I took second place in a tournament, I got yelled at because I didn't take first. And when I took first, I never stopped to get ice cream. I was supposed to be first in the tournament. So I never got recognition, which was great. And I guess the reason I'm telling you this story, that everything that happens to us helps groom us for our future. Now, if you look at my fingers here, let me get them on camera, right there. I had my fingertips blown off when I was a kid. Now, you tell a 13-year-old kid that got half deaf from the explosion playing with fireworks and blew up his fingers, that's going to be a great thing that happened to him. Right? There's no way you convince me. But what happened is I got into sports. And because for about a year or so, my right hand was so damaged I couldn't really use it, my left hand got very good. So all of a sudden, I started creating another great left. Most people are right-handed. I had right hand and left hand. It didn't matter which side of the bat I swung, which way I threw the ball. It was the same, which gave me a tremendous advantage in sports. Now, how did it help me in my personal and business life is it made me a little deaf. So I always had to concentrate when people talk to me. And people go, Ed, you're always so focused and so observant about what's going on and how you always focus when I'm talking to you. They didn't know I was deaf. I'm trying to read what they're saying. It also helped me read employees and customers. So I had about 50 people working for me before I sold my company. And I had people walk in, and I could just tell by their body language if they were going to do a good day or not. Why? First thing, I learned to use my eyes more than my ears. And I also had a very violent father. So I had to read my father very quickly, decide, do I want to be in the same room with this man or not? Now, some people, oh, that's terrible. But I thank him for it because that adversity helped me judge people instantly, including clients, that I can walk in and go, oh, this client's tight. This guy's nervous. This guy's this guy's that. And I start doing my business according to what his needs were to make him like me and make him do the deal. So anybody that's out there that thinks they have a handicap or an adversity, forget about it. You have to study what that gives you and how to make it for your benefit. And if you do that, you're on the possible road to success. Now, I own businesses and have coached and invested in everything from um, permaculture communities in Costa Rica, nightclubs in Colombia, dairy farms, construction companies, solar panel companies. And I have to tell you, the one thing in common to make those successful is hard work. If you're not willing to work 365 for the first 3 to 5 years, you're not working hard enough. If you're not waking up with a customer bouncing around in your brain at 3 a.m. or a problem, you're not working hard enough. It's just that simple. And I found that people that get a little success the first year and go, oh, I'm so smart, I'm so successful, and they lay on the ropes for a little while, they lose everything. Because it's very hard to build a brand, but it's very easy to lose one. And what I mean by that is you build a relationship with the customer trusts you, and then because you're not keeping your eye on the ball, what I call boots on the ground, boom, your employees, your contractors, whoever, don't do a good job, and you're beginning to make excuses. But once that happens, sometimes the trend is too strong, and trying to rebuild it is too hard. I have a client that went from 300,000 a year to $1 million a year to owing $1 million a year in a 2-year period. Built it up, things were great. Oh, Ed, I got this figured out. But listen, you're not paying attention. You're doing this, you're doing that. You're taking the kids to the dentist. You don't have time for that. We're on a hot roll. We got to stay on top of the ball. And sure enough, he didn't listen and he lost everything. But it also takes 3 to 5 years to build a really good team. And what I mean by that is you have someone works for a year. Okay, you're beginning to trust them. But in 3 to 5 years, they learn how you think. Now, I was having a lot of repeat questions. Usually 95% of my problems in any company is about 5% of the problems. In other words, and if I might not have gotten that right. And what I mean by that is I have the same recurring problems all the time. And it's 95% of the problems. Rarely do I have a new problem after a while. And my employees kept going, oh, Ed, how do I handle this? How do I handle that? And I said, I remember when the bracelets came out and they were, what would Jesus do bracelets, right? It's supposed to help you remember what would Jesus do. So I got everybody rubber bands. And I said to them, I tell you what, every time you have a problem, before you call me, talk to the group and ask them how you think I would handle it. Not how they handle it, how they would handle it. And then call me up and tell me. It was amazing. Most of the time, they had it right. And if they didn't have it totally right, I just had to twerk them a little bit and get it perfect. And before you know it, when they would call me up to have the answer, I go, listen, don't bother me anymore. You got it. I trust you guys. Boom. It takes about 3 to 5 years to have every part of your company, every employee that long to really understand how I expect their jobs to be and how I expect them to handle the situation. And by doing that, you create an irresistible company and you start developing an exit strategy. Because I didn't even know what an exit strategy was. And I was working with a business coach and he goes, Ed, what's your exit strategy? I go, what's that? He goes, well, how long do you want to do this for? Be so involved with your company. I said, I never thought about it. And we started thinking. So by teaching everybody how I thought, I had a bunch of mini me's working there. And all of a sudden, I wasn't getting my phone calls. All of a sudden, I wasn't getting my texts. At the top of my business, I'd get one text a month, and it's for somebody wanting basketball tickets or something. But you can't be at that stage too fast. You can't be at that stage too fast because the people that have to be around you have to be around you long enough that you trust them and they trust you. You also have to deal with massive amount of stress and anxiety and tenacity and fear when you own a business. You have to be fearful and fearless, if that makes sense. And you have to be willing to fight. It is a fight out there against your competitors. I never shook hands with my competitors. I was a very competitive person. I played competitive sports. I wasn't into hugging and kissing the guy that just beat me. My first thing in my mind is how I'm going to beat this guy. That's your mindset. How did this competitor beat you? And how am I going to come back and beat him in the next deal? You have to have that competitive spirit. And you have to be willing to get punched in the stomach once in a while. Listen, getting punched in the stomach hurts a lot, but it's going to happen. In business, that's what happens. Even when you're not expecting it, boom, this 19 thing. How many people were not expecting it? Who's going to be tough enough to survive it? And the ones that will have more open field because a lot of the competitors faded on them. There's a great book called The Art of War. And it's a book written thousands of years ago by this Chinese master army general. And it talks about, one of the things I remember, it talks about surrender. And it talks about percentage of men to percentages of men in battle. Now, if you have nowhere to retreat to, let's say your back is against the Grand Canyon, 10 men will fight as hard as 100. So you're going to need 1,000 men to fight 10, if that math is right. But if you leave them a little room to retreat, then you need 10 men against 1 man because they know they can escape. And I didn't really understand that, except one of my mentors early on said, Ed, you could be making a lot more money. I go, what are you talking about? He says, your wife makes a pretty good living, my ex-wife. But at the time, she was my wife. And she had a good job working for Enron, and she had great medical benefits and stock. And we were making a nice dual income. And I was working, but I wasn't working that hard. I wasn't working. I was working. You know, like to go to the gym, things like that, early afternoon. And what happened is my ex, if you know Enron, collapsed. And we're used to living on a certain income, and it was gone. It was amazing. In that year, and from 3 months forward into that year, I wind up making the exact same amount of money as the both of us by myself. And my company really grew. And the reason I'm mentioning this is a lot of times people start a business, but they're thinking about, well, if this doesn't work out, I can always go back to my old job. Or if this doesn't work out, I can move back home. Or if this doesn't work out, and when you live in that 1 foot in, 1 foot out, you're never going to be as successful as when you got both feet on the ground and someone's about to push you off a cliff. That's the mentality to be successful. If you really want to make money, I mean like stacking money, not like, oh, I'm making a living, but like boom, 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 money, you have to fight as if someone's about to push you off the cliff and you only got one way to go. And if you've got that mindset and you work with mentors, you've got a good shot at being successful. Now, people think that you need a big company to make big money. And I don't agree with that. And I'll give you an example. One of the companies that I had was a bathtub resurfacing company. I actually invented a lot of the processes for that. And I just thought I was this. And I met a guy and he goes, Ed, you're not just own a bathtub, you're owner of a multi-million-dollar corporation. And I didn't have the mindset that it's not what you do, it's how you do it. And another example of that would be an AC company. You can have 2 guys in the back of a truck with an AC license, or you can own 100 trucks and have an AC license. One's making, $100,000 during the summer where everybody's AC is breaking. Another guy's making $4 million during the summer. They're both AC companies. So don't let anything like, oh, I'm just doing web design, or I'm just doing this. Well, you could be doing your own web design, or you can have 200 people doing web design. So what are you doing for a living? And how can I scale it up? That's the tricky part. But there is that opportunity. It doesn't matter what you do, it's how you do it. And let me tell you a little bit more about myself, okay? There's nothing on paper that says I'm smart, except my bank account and my clients' bank accounts. I didn't take any special seminars or I wasn't a great student. I didn't go to Harvard Law School. I didn't do this, didn't do that. But I tell you one thing, my bank account tells me, and my clients' bank accounts tell me. And that's all that's important in this game. It's not who you were, it's who you are and where you're going. Now, we talked about building an irresistible team. So I want to talk about employees. Let me get a sip of water real quick. A lot of people go, oh, I just need a superstar salesman, or I need a superstar this. I don't believe in superstars. I do not hire superstars. I do not try to have people that I coach hire superstars. And the reason for this, superstars are never happy. Then you get them from one company, let's say he's making 100,000 a year, you hire him for 120, 6 months goes by, someone offers him 130, he has no loyalty. And he's usually a pain in the butt because he knows that he's a superstar, so you really cater to him. And when you cater to one person in your company, everybody else is going, great. He's a superstar. He gets to go to lunch. He gets this. He gets that. He gets all the perks. And I'm working just as hard as him, and I'm not getting anything. So it can actually develop animosity, jealousy in a company. I believe in finding talent. And the first thing I look for is enthusiasm. It's probably one of the first things. Enthusiasm. I can coach anybody into being a great salesman. And I want to talk about a young man that I met parking cars for me. I drive a very nice car, and I take very good care of it. I like to take care of everything I own. I feel it's a blessing from God. God gave me this body. God gave me my business. God gave me my relationships. He even gave me my dog. And I like to take care of them. I feel obligated to take care of them. So I do valet. And sometimes the guy shuts my door, and I have this nice clean car, and he takes his hand and he puts a handprint right on my window. I don't know. And sometimes I got to get out of the car and go, you see this thing? This is a handle. It's to open the door and close the door. And they look at me like, ugh. So I park valet, and this young man opens the door, goes, good evening. I hope you have a very nice time. Sits in my car, and I had like a Diet Coke can and a candy wrapper or some protein wrapper. Goes, would you like me to throw this away? I said, please. Never had a valet guy ever care what's in my car. Got done with dinner, and he didn't slam the door going in. He didn't squeak the tires leaving. I come back, same guy. And I roll down my window, and I look at my companion at the time. I go, I like this guy. So I gave him my business card. I go, listen, if you want a job, let's talk. Well, he wound up working me for 17 years. Let me tell you, a couple of times I could have beat him to death. But he wound up running my company, making $180,000 a year, and driving a brand new King Ranch before I sold my company. So here's a guy who's parking cars, but I saw the potential in him. I saw the potential in him, and I groomed him up. Another story is, and I'm just going to tell some stories so you can see the diversity of people you can recruit. I have a banker, and it's a small bank. I like dealing with a smaller bank because they give the attention that I need and the customer service that I need. And he always was getting tellers coming and going, and every new teller, oh, can I have ID, and this and that. You know, they weren't doing me any favors. And I went to my banker, and I go, what's the deal? What's the deal with your client, bank tellers? He goes, Ed, I'm a small bank. I'm always getting them stolen. They work for me, then they work for them, then they get back. I said, what does it take to find a teller? He goes, well, they have to be good with money, and they have to be drug tested. Doesn't sound like a lot of qualifications to me. I said, have you tried recruiting at Walmart? He goes, Walmart? What are you talking about? I go, yeah. Go to Walmart and go to different cashiers. And there's going to be that one cashier that has it. It has something about her or him that the way you watch her count the money out and put the money in a drawer, it's all facing the same way, the way she smiles and happy, and she doesn't take your eggs and put the gallon of milk on top of them. I said, go to 2 or 3 different tellers. And when you find the right one, you give her your card and go, listen, I'd like you to come in and interview. So he did. He wound up getting a couple of really great tellers. He goes, Ed, I can't believe it. I go, yeah, I mean, think about it. This woman's working at Walmart, making 39 and a half hours a week with no benefits, no, I don't want to use the word self-esteem, but you're working at Walmart. And her kid knows she works at Walmart. And when she goes to move into her apartment, she works at Walmart. Now, how do you think she feels that I work at Bank of Texas or wherever? And it has a future, and she has benefits, and she's got overtime, she's got paid holidays, got all this. And where's your mama work? My mama has worked at the bank, and she has possibilities of moving up. You're changing this person's life, and she's going to help you change your life because you're not have to worry about employees anymore. She is so loyal, and every time this has happened, these people have worked for me or worked for others for 10, 15 plus years because they appreciate the opportunity and they haven't been polluted by the superstar that's worked for 6 companies in 10 years and know he could pick up the phone and leave anytime he wants. Another story is that, so the man that got the King Ranch truck was out looking around. We're always looking for employees. And there was this girl working in Bed Bath Beyond, and she was Colombian. You call her name Lisa. And she had this magic about her, but she was doing warehouse work. He goes, Ed, you got to check out this girl. She's great. Let's go and recruit her. So I went to meet her, and I saw her walking around because she had purple hair and this crazy little vest, and she was just this exciting person to be around. I go, can you help me? Because no, whenever he come, no, I can't help you. I just do warehouse work. I said, that means you're not very smart. What do you mean I'm not smart? I go, well, if you can't even help me, then you must not be very smart. And she got very defensive. Because what can I help you with? I said, these coffee pots. I said, this coffee pot's $200. What in the world can a $200 coffee pot do than this $29 coffee pot does? I'm poking her. I'm seeing how she goes. She goes, have you tasted the coffee from the $200 coffee pot? I said, no. She said, you need to buy the $200 coffee pot, taste the coffee, and you will see the difference. This girl can make me money. This girl can make me money. So we hired her. We found out she's got a graphic design degree. So she was making all my business cards and flyers and website design for free compared to paying someone all these thousands of dollars to do that. So my point is, when you're walking around, don't walk around with blinders. There's a story in the Bible about Moses, and I'm not trying to get into a religious thing, but it's a great story a man told me. When Abraham saw the 2 Arabs walk by, and he said he saw them twice. And what a lot of literal people think, oh, he saw them going and going. No, he looked at them twice. He saw that they looked hungry and thirsty. So when you look at someone, don't look at them once. You go, okay, there's a person. You look a little harder. You look a little deeper. And you'll see something. And that something could be your next cash cow. That something could be your next person that could change your company around. So those are a couple of examples of finding people. And I'm just about out of time. I will say, if you look for a business coach, look for someone that's been successful. Doesn't have to be me, but if they can't do it, they can tell you how to do it. All right? Good luck out there, and give me some questions.
Oh my gosh. Thank you so much. I've been taking notes and popping it up there. And,
Uh-huh.
there was something that you said that really touched me. Well, 2 things. The last thing, I'll bring up the last thing first. You said when you were talking about that story and how you need to look twice at people, and we look at people and we see the what they have on, maybe their facial expression, things like that. But I like what you said. You said look deeper, and that is a skill set. Can you kind of elaborate on some of the things, because I know you gave a lot of examples, but when you say look deeper, can you elaborate a little bit on that?
Well, there's two stories I can tell. One, I talked about my father. So my father and mother were both, they were very, let's say, violent people. So I had to really look at them to go, oh, what's my day going to be like? So I had to look deep. But I'll give you a better story than that. I was going to the gym one day, and there was a guy that I knew, and he was sitting there by himself. And I looked at him. I go, hey, how you doing? He goes, hey, how you doing? And there was something, an intuition that made me go up to him. I go, man, you're not, what's the matter? What's happening? His mother died yesterday.
Wow.
Because I looked at him twice. I could have just walked by and waved like he waved at me. You know how we all do it. Hi, hi. And then there was something in him that made me stop and sit with him. And my mother died pretty, couple of, let's say 6 months before. I don't remember the exact date, but I shared my experience and my hope. So that is another example of looking twice. You've got, I don't care if you're walking down the street and you see two guys, you go, you know what, I better cross the street. That's also being smart. Or looking at another person and go, you know what, this person needs $1, or this person needs a hello, or this person needs, or it could be your next great employee. I love this person. Look at the allure this person has. Look how this person has a job at Walmart and she's the happiest person in the store. Imagine if I gave her my environment, what she could do for me, what my customers on the phone will pick up her.
Yes, and that was the other nugget that I think was huge when you talked about the fact that um, not always going after the superstar, the shiny stone, because a lot of people they tend to, even in looking for business coaches, even for looking for businesses to work with, they look for that shiny stone and they have no idea.
Uh-oh.
They have no idea what's in the person who is hungry to just be better, do better, have better. What else can you shed on that light?
Uh, I'm not really sure what you mean by that, to be honest. I don't want to ramble in an inconsistent way.
Absolutely right. Let me pose it as a question, because you brought up some great examples of, looking for a person who has the who may not be in necessarily the quote unquote place that you're wanting to bring them to, but they have that skill set, like the person in Walmart who takes pride in their job, who takes pride in their, but when you're but now I want to talk about people who look at the shininess of things. They're looking for, people who may be at a certain pinnacle to help them get to a certain place. But then there are people who just have a hunger for doing it. And they may not be the flashy person with the big name, but they still have the potential, the possibility, and the influence, the information to help you out. I just wanted to know, like, what's your experience with working with that? Because everyone that you've done business with at a certain level, or have you tried people that are not necessarily at that certain level, but you give them that opportunity to work with you?
Well, I met a wonderful young lady from Scores, and I gave out about 10 of my business cards, and she was the only one, she's sitting over here, and she's the only one that called me. And I met her, and I go, I can make this girl something. I know I can do this one. It's like, the coach finding Mike Tyson. He knew he was going to make him the heavyweight champion of the world. He just looked at them and goes, I can do this guy. I can make this. And it is a skill. I would say, though, one of my most best mentors, I looked at who he was, and he was a rags to riches story also. His father owned a one-share barbershop in a very small town, a one-chair barbershop, and he built himself up to an image that you think this guy, was born from Ralph Lauren or something like that. I mean, he was almost overdressed. He always had clear nail polish, always wore Armani suits. You never knew this kid was a dirt poor kid. And he shared his story with me, and I go, well, okay, he knows the road. But if you would meet him, but he was also very compassionate. He met me with some friends, and he gave me his card, and he said, call me. And he taught me how to do business meetings. I mean, it would be like, I would go into this conference room with all these suits, and he had me sit off to the side. And then one day, he always had a thing with his hands. He taught me how to use my hands. He goes, Ed, come sit over here. Everybody's going, this guy, he's been sitting in the corner. And he built me up to what he was. And I think it's important. There's two things. You can't give away what you don't have. And when you can relate to Showen's experience, now, everybody has their own experiences. The question is, has he done what I want? And does he have what I want? Excuse me, if he doesn't have what I want, I don't want to be coached by him. And knowledge, there's a difference between knowledge and wisdom. Okay, this is quite profound because everything's knowledge and wisdom are the same. Knowledge was the earth was flat. Everybody thought the earth was flat, right?
Right.
Right? Guess what? It's not flat anymore. Okay, wisdom is you're going to die. Wisdom goes forever. It never changes. So you got to be careful about the difference between wisdom and knowledge, because there's a lot of book smart people out there, but they don't know how to get out of the rain. Yeah. And that's kind of what I talk about with me. The only thing they'll tell you I'm smart is my bank account and my client's bank accounts. There's nothing else out there. I was a terrible student. Talked to my parents. They couldn't turn their back on me because I probably burned down the Empire State Building living in a different borough. But somehow, I always had a knack of being successful. And there was crazy stories my mom told me as a child that I didn't know, like even when I was in first grade, stories that I always had a knack for business. The way my brain operates was always a good businessman. Terrible student, great businessman.
Wow.
So I don't know if that helps you or not.
It absolutely does. I'm checking to see if there are any questions in the comments section. I think I've kind of addressed them. I don't see any questions, but I want to ask you one last question. So how can one find you, Ed? I mean, if we're looking for you, how can one find you?
Innovatingwithed.com.
You said innovating what?
Innovating with Ed.
Innovating with Ed.
Innovating with Ed at gmail.com.
Okay, innovating with Ed at gmail.com. Okay, that's your email address?
Yes. Can I tell you another story? We have a minute?
Sure can.
Okay. So my mom told me this story, and I didn't know how we were going to do with time. So my parents took me to Florida one year. I was in first grade. And this kind of gives you the way my brain operates. So in first grade, my mom takes me to the beach. He says, what do you think of the beach? I said, oh, I could sell seashells. Okay. And like all little kids, boys always have these cigar boxes or shoe boxes, where we put all our little stuff. And I had a box of seashells. And we go back home. And I lived across the street from the public school. My mom would come and pick me up. So she's waiting outside. Where's Eddie? Where's Eddie? Oh my God. God knows what Eddie could be doing. First grade, I was Dennis the Menace on steroids. Okay. So she goes looking for me, and she finds me outside with a bunch of kids around me. I had a towel. I had a bunch of seashells on the towel. Now I had about 10 of these and only 2 of those. And she asked me, how did you have them priced? I said, well, the one I have 10, they're a nickel, but they only have 2 for the 10-cent ones. But the truth is I had more of the 10-cent ones, but I had them hidden. So I was already knew the concept of developing, need to develop. Okay, so I'm going to let people go. There's only 2 of these left. You better buy these because these are really rare. This is first grade.
Wow.
So I already understood marketing. And my mom told me all these different stories, but I always like the seashell story because you'd never expect a kid first grade. She said, I don't even know how you got the towels out. I don't know how you got the towel out. She said, I didn't see you. He's like, I must have hid all of this so that and I was a sneaky kid. I told you I was Dennis Spanish. So this sneaky kid steals all this stuff, gets out there and selling this stuff on the corner, you know. So if
Wow.
people wonder how my mind works, at first grade, it's already creating supply and demand.
Wow. An amazing story, and I think it really plays to you really taking a look back over your life and kind of seeing from your stories and things what your natural abilities are. Because I mean, it looks like you've been set up to be a millionaire businessman since you were first grade, probably before that, but
Yeah, it's kind of funny,
yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
I
Well,
always laugh about people that have higher education. I know guys with multiple masters and they've worked for me.
so true, so true. Well, I don't see any. I noticed that. Let's see. Todd Smith Grice. We thank you so much for joining us. He has given us the thumbs up. He says you're an awesome business coach, and so we thank Todd for.
Oh, thank you.
Well, this morning. Well, afternoon. Excuse me. Well, we are ending day 2 of the Birthing Your Greatness Summit. Is there anything else you'd like to say in closing, Ed, before I close it out?
No, I just think that you could be as great as you can. It's knowing your strengths and weaknesses. The interview we did, I would highly recommend people listening to because I try not to duplicate information.
Right.
And I'm pretty sure you'll agree with me on that. This is like a double podcast. You have me with you, and then you have this one, and the information is completely different. So if you like what I said here, I highly recommend you getting the interview information because it has I think it's very important that people give information out when they talk, and things that are practical that can help you. Just finding people. How do you find employees? That's the big question. How far can I take this company because I'm just doing websites? It's having the tools to do it. You got to be real careful of coaches that are motivating, but they don't teach anything. The rah guys. You can do it. You can do it. It's like, okay, how do I do it? Oh, if you want it, you can do it. Let me tell you, I one time had an argument with a guy. He said, oh, if you wanted to, you could be Tiger Woods. I said, there's no way I could be Tiger Woods. Tiger Woods has been playing golf since he's 6. He goes, that's because he wants it more. I said, no, he's better than me. I'm not going to go against LeBron James, And there's a lot of coaches that tell people, if you really want it, you can do it. The important coaches are giving you the tools that have worked with them and others that make it successful. And be careful of going to seminars that make you feel like you're $1,000,000, but you really didn't walk out with any knowledge or wisdom, as we say, wisdom.
Absolutely.
And that's it. Have fun out there. Let's
Wow.
stack cash.
And you're absolutely right. I really appreciate that. And that interview was amazing. That can be found on the Collaborative You TV on YouTube and on the Collaborative You Facebook group. For those of you who want to register for the Birthing Your Greatness conference, the registration is free. But if you want those replays, if you want a replay of every one of our presenters, you can get that at bit.ly/BYG Summit. And make sure you join our Facebook group every Friday at 1 p.m. We're doing a drawing, whether it be free coaching or business tools. That's bit.ly/BYGFB group. Well, we are ending day 2 of the Birthing Your
Thank you,
Great
girl. Peace.
So much. Make sure you join us tomorrow. We'll be right back here, Birthing Your Greatness Summit, 12 noon. Our speaker is Dr. Sandra Steen, the breakthrough strategist. Oh my gosh.
Ooh, I heard
Yes.
she's dynamite.
Yes, she is. Well, thank you guys for
I'm
joining.
glad I wasn't following her.
And don't forget, this is no replay. So as soon as this over, we're going to take it down, but you can get it by registering. I think it's only $10. I mean, that's crazy for 20 days of content, but bit.ly/BYG Summit. And we are out.
You could turn it into millions.
Yes, you can.